Madam Chair, we are now live.
Good evening, everyone. I will now call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. My name is Lindsay McNally, and I'll be acting as chairperson this evening. I welcome all individuals present and ask that all electronic devices be turned off. I'm going to kick things off with a land acknowledgement. We'll go through some housekeeping, and then we'll call the meeting to order. So starting with the land acknowledgement, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territories of the Mississaugas, more specifically, the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past with authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action, acknowledging the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation, and move forward with kindness and respect as a community. So just a little bit of a description of the committee's mandate. The Town of Ajax Animal Services Appeal Committee have full delegation of the authority in the Municipal Act to hear appeals. The committee will hear evidence presented by witnesses, town bylaw staff, the owner of the dog, or other individuals that may have evidence relating to the case, and make decisions on the status of an order to restrain by confirming, modifying, rescinding, or extending the time for complying with the order. If an individual or the town does not agree with the decision of the committee with regards to an order to restrain decision, the order may be appealed to the General Government Committee of the town. All appeals processes will be outlined in the written decision of the committee, which will be mailed to the appellant. The format of our meeting tonight will be that each appeal will be heard in the order listed on the agenda. Town staff will present first their testimony to the committee, and then the committee will ask the officer questions. At the conclusion of committee questions, the appellant will then have the option to ask questions of the officer. This process will continue for each witness that will give testimony on behalf of the town. After the town has concluded their case, the appellant will have an opportunity to present their testimony to the committee. The committee will then ask the appellant questions. At the conclusion of committee questions, town staff will then also have the option to ask questions of the appellant. This process will continue for each witness that will give testimony on behalf of the appellant. At the conclusion of the presentation of evidence, each side will be asked to summarize their respective positions, starting with town staff. The committee will then deliberate in a public forum. It is important that the appellant remain present, as there may be additional questions raised by committee members. So we'll start with the agenda items in the order that they're listed on the agenda. The first is any disclosure of conflict of interest. Any disclosure to be made? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from April 11th, 2024. Any errors or omissions? No? Would someone like to make a motion to approve? Yeah. All in favor? Remember your electronic vote, please. Yes. Okay, I'll declare that motion carried. Next, we have the appeal on the agenda for this evening. I do hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It's Genna Drillingram from 17 Draycott Avenue. I understand that we have town staff and a witness, and as well the appellant is present with us tonight. And we'll start with the town. Officer Guarini, can you please present your testimony?
On May 29th, the town received a complaint from Lisa C. Sinelli regarding a dog attack incident that took place at approximately 7:30 a.m. that day. Lisa has attended this meeting with us tonight and is willing to give a statement after my presentation. While reporting the incident, the victim stated that she was walking her Maltese dog, Fonzie, on the west side of Draycott Avenue when a large German Shepherd type dog ran out of the front door of 17 Draycott Avenue and attacked the victim and the victim's dog, Fonzie. The victim states that the owners of the German Shepherd were outside at the time of the attack but did not try to stop the attack from happening. A statement was obtained from the victim, and I've included that in your appeal package. On May 31st, May 29th, Municipal Law Enforcement Officer Wu performed a search of the DocuPet animal licensing system. Records show an active license for Jimmy, a German Shepherd Pyrenees type dog owned by Tharmela Ganadrillingham of 17 Draycott Avenue. The active license is also included in the package. On May 31st, Municipal Law Enforcement Officer Wu delivered an interim order to restrain to Nisanth Ganadrillingham, who is the dog owner's brother. The town received a copy of the Ring doorbell video of the attack that took place on the 29th, which will be available for viewing after the presentation. I would like to advise that the video may be triggering to some of the viewers. Additional photos were also sent and obtained by Municipal Law Enforcement Officer Wu, which is included in the package. On June 17th, I attended 17 Draycott Avenue. I knocked on the door, but there was no answer, so I left my business card requesting to call me. On June 18th, I contacted the owner, Tharmela, after locating her phone number on the DocuPet animal licensing system. I advised Tharmela of the ongoing investigation and medical expenses associated with the dog attack that took place on the 29th. The victim stated her medical bills were approximately $900. On July 3rd, I attended 17 Draycott Avenue to personally deliver an order to restrain to the appellants. I conducted a door knock, but there was no answer. I placed an envelope with the order to restrain inside at the front door. I've included a copy of that in the appeal package. On July 4th, with the agreement of Tharmela, I provided her contact information to the victim to discuss potential compensation for medical expenses incurred as a result of the attack. On July 11th, the town of Ajax received a registered letter from the appellant appealing the order to restrain. On September 4th, I attended 17 Draycott Avenue and personally delivered a letter that was addressed to the appellant on behalf of the Secretary of the town's Property Standards and Animal Services Appeals Committee, advising of the time, the date, and pertinent information for the appeal meeting on September 23rd. The original copy of the letter was delivered and served by registered mail.
Thank you. Is your testimony complete?
Yes.
Okay. I understand that town staff now has a number of video clips to play for us. As the officer mentioned, these clips may be triggering or upsetting to some individuals, and so if anyone does feel the need to leave our live stream or leave council chambers while we play these videos, we'll just give you a moment to do so. So that's all the video clips that we have to review this evening. Does the committee have any questions for the officer? No? No questions? Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Ganendra Lingram, do you have any questions for the officer? No? Okay, thank you. You'll have a moment to present your testimony in a second. We'll move forward. Ms. Cicinelli, would you like to present your testimony to the committee?
Yeah, just push. I'm good. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Cicinelli, and on the morning of May 29th, I was walking my 3.5-year-old Maltese dog in the immediate neighborhood of where I live. It is a route that I took probably daily. The street, Draycott, is basically a street parallel to the street that I live on. As you can see, we were walking on the west side of the street, and out of nowhere, this dog just came charging out of the house that I assumed it lived at and attacked my dog. I was frantic, as you could see in the video. The only thing I could do to save him was really lift him up by the leash, and the larger dog just would not leave us alone. It continued to stay on us. My dog was bleeding in my arms. I ran a few houses down the street, screaming for help. It was early in the morning before I'd go to work, hoping to get somebody's attention. I did notice that there was a young lady standing outside of 17 Draycott. She had another large dog beside her. And you can see in the video as well that I'm screaming at her to come and get her dog, and she did not move. She did try to call the dog by name to get it to retreat back to the home. The dog was not listening, was not obedient at all. She had no control, and never did she come and help me. So eventually, a neighbor a couple houses down did come running out of his house because he heard me screaming. He assisted me. Again, you can see in the video, the dog did not lay off. It wasn't charging at us, but it was definitely interested in pursuing the attack further. The neighbor was generous enough to drive me to the nearest vet to seek help. My vet was closed, so we ended up going to an emergency hospital, and that's where I spent the majority of the morning on May 29th at the emergency hospital with my dog. He suffered one severe bite to the stomach area and a few other lacerations more, I guess, near his genital area, lots of scratches on him. But really, it wasn't even the physical wounds that were the most damaging. My dog was traumatized, as was I. And the fact that somebody stood there and watched it happen and didn't help us just floors me to this day. Like, I just can't believe it that happened to us. And I just don't think it's safe. I usually take my 15-month-old with me in the stroller, and something happened that morning that just did not make me bring him. And I will never take my son with me again to walk my dog because I don't know if this could ever happen again. And my dog would not be alive if I had my baby with me that day. So yes, this dog needs to be muzzled, it needs to be restrained, it needs to be trained, because that could have been a little child walking down the street, that could have been anything, and it could have been a lot more difficult and a lot more damaging than it was. That's my testimony.
Thank you so much. I understand that it is difficult to be here in this situation, having gone through what you went through. I will just ask if the committee has any questions for this witness. No? And the appellant also has an opportunity to ask questions of this witness. Are there any questions from the appellant? No? Okay, thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Ganendra Lingram, this is your opportunity now to present your testimony. Feel free to approach the podium with the microphone there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nisanth Ganendra Lingram, and I'm here today to appeal, if we can appeal the restraint on the muzzle for my dog, Jimmy. It was an unfortunate event that happened on May 29th, but that was due to the fact that my mom left the door open, which is unseeable, and we have now gated our front door and the section before our front door, so that will never happen again. I've had this dog for 7 years, and I have not had an issue like this before, which is why I think it is unfair to have my dog muzzled on walks when this was an unforeseeable event that happened only because my mom left the dog open and it wasn't on a walk with my dog, which that I guess that enforcement or the muzzle is on just for walks. It's not in my house, which does not make sense to what happened in this situation, which is why I want to appeal the situation, because I don't think it's fair that my dog has to walk with a muzzle, which even though of what happened, I just want to see if we can come to terms to
It's okay, take your time. I understand it's difficult for everyone here.
Sorry, I just want to apologize. I do understand the seriousness of this situation, but it was due to the fact that my dog escaped from his house. This has not happened in the 7 years of me owning this dog. I have not had a situation like this, and I do understand that it's serious, but I ask that we reconsider the muzzle order, because that does also have a negative effect on the dog on walks, as he scratches his face on the sidewalk, and as he has more, I don't know what the right word is, but more does not want to walk as much. He wants to just, he does not want to walk with the muzzle on, which I don't think is fair for him, because the situation only arose as my mom left the door open. And to answer Miss Cecilia's question, my mom was outside holding the big dog, and I was not home at the time. And my sister came to try to help the Miss Cecilia, but she was and get the dog. And bring the dog back to our house. Is it okay if I ask for like a few minutes and then can we try this again?
You feel free to take all the time that you need. When your testimony is complete, we're going to have the committee ask you some questions. So take a second, collect yourself.
That we prioritize that this doesn't happen again, which is why we added the extra gates, so nothing like this happens in the future and there's no more incidents, which is overall what I'm trying to get across in this.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Does the committee have any questions for the appellant?
Thank you for your testimony today to all of you here in attendance. I guess, quick question. So the dog, has it had any previous training?
He has, but he is also a German Shepherd, and he did not, I guess, he has had previous training, to answer your question.
Okay. In terms of walks, he goes for daily walks and,
He does, multiple walks a day.
okay. Is he ever off the leash in the dog-free zones at all or in the park?
Dog parks, yes, but not while walking him.
Okay, and in those dog parks, there's never been any kind of incident with the
No.
other dogs?
No.
But just something with this incident, with the door being unlocked, something sparked his interest in the other dog for him to go and attack.
It was an unfortunate event, but I don't know why he did what he did. But we took precautions to make sure that doesn't happen again.
The precautions being the double locks,
Double gates,
gates on the door.
which Dan has seen at our house.
Thank you. That's all I had for questions.
Hi, thank you very much for sharing your testimony and information, and I appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. I have some questions about the mitigation measures that you state that you've put in place. I see on one of the documents submitted in our agenda package that there is a, looks like a baby gate, a black baby gate
There's two of them, yes.
on the outside jamb of a front door. The height of the baby gate is lower than the handle of the door, which I measured my own door at home and my handle is about 35 inches high to the center of it. So that's less than 3 feet. I have concern that this dog can still jump over that gate. It is a large dog by your admission, and I've seen German Shepherds jump much higher than 3 feet. So I'm concerned that this mitigation measure, if this is what you've put in place to prevent something like this from happening, will likely not be sufficient. Has your dog ever jumped over anything higher than 3 feet?
My dog is also a Pyrenees dog, so he's not a full jumping German Shepherd dog. He cannot jump that high.
A Great Pyrenees dog?
Yes.
Okay.
So he is a bit heavier than much heavier than a German Shepherd, so he cannot jump as high as a German Shepherd will be able to.
Okay. I'm still concerned, though, that the size of the dog would enable it to jump higher than 3 feet. So this to me is plus it's on the outside of the door jamb, so if the dog was to jump at it, it would push because it looks like it's being held by pressure as opposed to screwed into the jamb.
There is one on the inside of the door as well, which is screwed in.
How does the door open if that gate is on the inside?
It's a few feet behind the door. Be it behind, I guess, like a garage door. It's
Okay.
a few feet behind, at least 6 feet behind a door.
Okay. All right. That is the only question that I have. Thank you.
I have just one additional question, and it also deals sort of with mitigation measures. So I understand that the dog has had some training in the past, yes, and you mentioned during your testimony that it's an unfortunate incident that couldn't have been foreseen, like we don't know why your dog did what they did. But has there been any consultation or additional training since the incident to better understand perhaps what the trigger was in order to be able to prevent a future occurrence, more than just putting gates up, right? Improving recall, those types of things?
I have not.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay. Does the town have any questions for the appellant?
Sorry, I would like to also say I had this dog for 7 years, and I've not had this issue before.
Okay, thank you. Officer, do you have any questions?
Through the chair, no questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Do you have any other witnesses that are here to speak on your behalf or on behalf of the dog?
No,
Okay.
no one else.
So the next step here before the committee deliberates is that both the town and the appellant will have an opportunity to summarize your positions, and we'll start with the officer here.
As my concluding statement, I would like to see the order to restrain stand, as I still do have some concerns in regards to community safety.
Thank you very much. And please go ahead. You can summarize your position.
I would like to have the order reconsidered as we have implemented the 2 gates, which my dog will not be able to jump over. And I just want you to reconsider your views on the muzzle order.
Okay, thank you very much. The committee will now deliberate publicly here. I just ask that you you can sit down, but do remain in the room in case we have additional questions for you through that process. So I'll leave it to the both of you to start some discussion. Don't forget your microphone.
Thank you. One of the biggest concerns I have is the order is for outside the property to have that muzzle on. And as the officer stated, community safety is first and foremost. And we witnessed here that outside the property, this dog attacked another dog, unprovoked, by the way. So the likelihood that it could happen again to me is very real without knowing the root cause of why the dog did that. Could it be a small child next time? Could it be, who knows? Could have been much worse than what it was. So I would fully support the order remaining in place to have the dog muzzled when outside the property.
Thank you. Do you have any comments you'd like to share?
Yeah, so in terms of the dog with the muzzle, it's quite obvious that even when one of the owner members' family was trying to get the dog to return to the property, the dog continued to be jumping at the victim and the victim's dog with no real regard for recall. And, you know, it was a very serious issue. The dog was quite vicious, and you know, it concerns me that it does go for walks, it does attend off-leash dog parks, and while it hasn't done this before in 7 years, there's no indication that it wouldn't do it again now that it has done it. So I think the behavior, once it started, without any remediation, the only thing that can ensure public safety is a muzzle.
I mean, the commentary that I would give is that I'm inclined to agree. Even though, yes, perhaps a muzzle while being walked would not have contributed to safety in this particular instance, the fact that there really is sort of no indication about what the trigger was, it leads me to believe that it could happen outside of the owner's property, and my sense is that the muzzle order should be upheld. And so I'll give it another opportunity for discussion, but it sounds like we might be ready to have a motion on the floor if either of you would entertain making that motion for us.
Yes, I motion to vote on the order. Yes.
So just specifically, so your motion is to uphold the order as written?
Yes, my vote is to uphold the order as written.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, so we have a unanimous decision to uphold the order. Mr. Ganadrum-Lingam, the committee has deliberated, and we do advise at this time that the order to restrain will be upheld. A written decision will be mailed to you following this meeting, and if you do not agree with the committee's decision, the appeals process for the decision will be detailed in what is mailed to you, and I've outlined those options earlier in this meeting as well. Thank you very much for attending and for everyone for speaking with us this evening. Moving forward with our agenda, we have a verbal update from town staff on Animal Services Oliveira, 45 Tulloch Drive. Your microphone.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Just for the committee's benefit, this was the order to restrain for animal services that involved the upper and lower tenant that ended up in an altercation outside the laundry room. The order was upheld by the committee, and since that time, there's been no further incidents, and as such, the file has been closed as compliant.
Thank you very much. Before we conclude, is there any new business to discuss this evening?
Madam Chair, the town has no new business.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have concluded the business for which this meeting was called. Can I entertain a motion from the committee to adjourn the meeting? Okay, all in favor? And that motion is carried. Thanks again, everyone, for your time this evening.